Thanks for joining us. I'm excited for our show this week because we're taking another road trip. This time we're headed a little bit closer to my home with a stop in the south central region of Pennsylvania. Hi, I'm Missy Wilson. I'm a second generation winery owner of Cedar Ridge Vineyards in Kutztown, and I've been in the Pennsylvania wine world for almost 20 years now, and I'm excited to share with you the vineyards, wineries, wines, and all the hidden gems that make up our wonderful state. In the south central region of Pennsylvania, we actually have over 50 wineries to enjoy visiting. As you move closer to Harrisburg, there's a wide variety of wineries to visit near the capital. If you head south towards Gettysburg and York, or east towards Hershey and Lancaster. If you'd like to take advantage of a wine trail, you can actually visit the Hershey Harrisburg Wine Country and its 12 member wineries. If you'd rather map your own trail, the best bet is to visit the Pennsylvania Winery Association's website at pennsylvaniawine.com to make your own personal itinerary based on the wines and the wineries that you love. Today we're going to talk with Jan Waltz of Waltz Vineyard and Winery located in Mannheim with an easy drive to York, Hershey, and Lancaster. They also have 2 satellite locations at their kitchen kettle tasting room in Intercourse and their wine room in Lidditz. If you're looking at making this into a day trip or a longer stay, we have some fun suggestions for whether you're hanging with your significant other, your friends, or your family. Allison from Visit Harrisburg Hershey will be helping you fill out your itinerary today. So let's start our road trip. Waltz Vineyard and Winery is located in Mannheim, and for those of you not familiar with the area, it's about a 25-minute drive from Hershey and Lancaster and about 40 minutes or so from Harrisburg and York. So I'm happy to have with us today Jan Waltz, who's the owner and founder of Waltz Vineyard and Winery. Thanks so much for talking with us today, Jan.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Missy. Glad to be here.
No problem. So, like many of the people that we talk to who have vineyards, you started your vineyard on a family farm. So what made you think of changing your farm from corn and soybeans over into grapes?
After graduating from Penn State, coming back to the home farm, I really wanted to be in a commodity that I could be a price maker instead of a price taker. So I figured out that grapes from traveling and talking to different vineyard owners that if you did a great job of growing good grapes, you could kind of set your price.
Exactly. So unlike many wineries, you guys just began as a vineyard. You grew grapes and you sold grapes for many years to other wineries. What made you decide to become a commercial winery, and how long did that process actually take you?
We sold grapes to about 12 different wineries in Pennsylvania and all vinifera varieties. And after about 6-7 years of being in the business, and our soil scientist recommended that we make some wine in the garage. So actually, that was about 3 years. We started in some glass carboys, and I kind of caught the bug to start making wine, and it went from glass carboys to small stainless steel tanks to about a 5-year journey, actually 8 years from that point till we finally decided to develop the winery after we watched everyone else kind of in the business, and we figured out that there's more value added as well.
Perfect. So you actually have one main vineyard, which is fairly large, and then 2 smaller vineyards, and you usually utilize the smaller vineyards for your wine club members. What types of grapes are you growing that's for the general public, and then what are your specialty wines that you have available for just your wine club members?
Great. We again only grow vinifera varieties, so we're growing Merlot and Cabernet Sauvignon and Cabernet Franc for our red varietals, and then we grow Semillon, Sauvignon Blanc, Chardonnay, and Muscat Canali for our white varietals, and we make blends of those. We also make an apple wine, and it's more non-traditional apple wine. It's a little drier than most, but that's kind of our product lineup. And for us, the satellite vineyards are more R&D. It's not Beddington Silt Loam like we have here. It's a lower elevation. It's in limestone soils. It's 2 different locations on the east side of Lancaster, south of Lidditz, and we grow Chardonnay and Cab Franc in those 2 vineyards. And they are small production, anywhere from 100 to 150 cases. So we have a wine club of over 800 people. So we make those wines available because they're small lot production. They're more expensive, and they're unique because they're giving a different terroir to compare to our other club packages that we do.
Exactly. And that's kind of the fun part that I don't think as many people are familiar with, that location is actually really key to the flavor profiles that come out of the grapes. So you could have two vineyards, 10 miles apart from each other, growing the exact same grape and make two completely different wines out of those, which is always the fun part about wine. You never really know what you're going to pull out of the grape itself.
Yeah, I agree.
So your vineyards were planted in 97, so just a year before ours. So you've actually been growing grapes for 25 years this year.
Yeah.
How have you seen that the wine industry has changed over time with the acceptance to Pennsylvania wines to the consumer?
Well, when we first started in 97, there was not a real big acceptance. There was some good wines in the market. There was a lot less wineries at the time, and a lot of the consumers were not used to having good wines from PA because the experience was very limited. And we decided that we wanted to change that. And around the same time, Penn State also started pushing for better vineyard development, and then also winery development. And we saw a big change in wine every year from like 1999 until present. And it used to be hard to find wines that didn't have flaws, and now you can pretty much find at least the wines that are grown and made on site here in PA. Very sound wines that can compete regionally as well as nationally.
Exactly. So the wine industry has really grown and blossomed, I feel, over the past, a quarter of a century or so. People have really been putting the effort in, like you guys have, into creating an amazing and beautiful product. So congratulations are actually in order for you, because you retired from your other full-time real job. People in the wine industry never call their job a real job. It's the job you had before you got into the wine industry is always your real job. So you've actually, over the course of the past couple years, you've brought in some additional help. Your son's graduated from Cornell with his degree in enology, and you've made some bigger purchases to kind of lessen your load a little bit, which is actually, you had mentioned to me, giving you the joy of being back in the vineyard again. So what are some of these plans that you have put in place, and these big purchases that you've made to kind of give you a little bit less manual labor and a little bit more joy in it again?
Well, bringing our son into the business 2 years ago after he graduated and did some work for some other wineries on the West Coast, we brought him as operational manager for both the vineyard and the winery. And he's also brought in H2A help, so we have more hand labor. He's doing more of the wine. Well, he's doing all the winemaking and record keeping, so that really helped. We've also been completely fully integrated in our business after we bought our own bottling line in 2017. So we can do everything here without having to worry about outside contract labor. And this year we purchased a mechanical harvester after picking grapes for over 2 decades. Great help from our wine club members and local people, but for the size that we are and the risk that we take of exposing a crop to weather, this is going to allow us, the technology has gotten so good that it can do a better job than hand picking. So we finally waited after many years to get to this point. So now we'll be able to wake up early in the morning, pick the grapes that we need in an hour or so, bring them in, get them processed, get them in cold stability, and be able to control the crop and beat the weather, maybe get 2 or 3 more days of ripeness, and then run out and pick that variety right before the rain or whatever may be happening.
Well, I know that you have at least a couple wineries and vineyard managers who are going to be super jealous of you this harvest season.
Been a
They're
long time
dev
coming.
Yeah. Yeah, they're definitely, that is definitely a huge help. So the great part is that the listeners are actually interested in seeing, your production and your vineyard. You guys have in your tasting rooms, you have videos that play about what goes on in the vineyard and the winery, so people can get a little bit more of an education. You actually have, in addition to your main tasting room at the vineyard itself, you have two additional tasting rooms in additional satellite locations. So if people are interested to come out and visit and taste some wines, where are the location and what hours do you currently have?
Okay, so the main winery is at the vineyard, and so the full production facility is here, and that's a picture from the top of the hill looking out over where you can sit out in the lawn. That is open Monday through Saturday, 11 to 5. And then we have a wine room at the food court in the Wilbur in Lidditz. So it's just a small room, but you can go there to taste, and there's other food vendors there. So you can grab some food, stroll around town, pick up your wine club package. And then that is open Tuesday through Sunday, typically 11 to 3, some, I think, Thursday and Friday maybe till 5. So I would suggest checking the listing for the hours there, because that does change. And then our Kitchen Kettle Village shop in Intercourse in the Kitchen Kettle Village, full shopping village there with all the local tradesmen and things from Eastern Lancaster County, a lot of the Amish traditional experience of touring Amish country. But we have a 2,200 square foot tasting room there that offers all our wines. Also has the video playing there as well. So if you're, that's about 40 minutes from the main winery, and they have a patio and things like that. So they're open Monday through Saturday at that location.
Great. So if people want some additional information about your wines, the various locations that we just talked about, your wine club, which is amazing and wonderful, you have over, would you say, 800 members of, and other places to find your wines. You're in several restaurants, lots of breweries, places like that. Where should they head to make sure that they can pick up some of your wines?
Well, you can do so at any of the 3 locations. We are also in about 8 Wegmans, and you can order. We have shipping permits if you're out of state for 24 different states. So if you happen to be in any of the surrounding states or anywhere that's easy to ship to, you can order right online. And there's also over 50 restaurants and breweries right now that currently handle our product here in Pennsylvania.
That's great. So they can find out, you guys, I think I saw, have your whole list of where your wines are with regards to the restaurants and breweries on your website, all your hours, all the various wines, including rosé, which is actually one of my favorites. So I'm going to have to make sure I come down and grab a bottle of that on your website, which is waltzvineyards.com, correct?
Right. waltzvineyards.com.
So WALTZ Vineyards, don't forget the S on the end.com. So thanks so much for joining us today, Jan. I definitely suggest a trip down there now that the weather is starting to warm up and everything is getting beautiful. It's a perfect time to do a picnic lunch on their lawn, enjoy the views of their vineyards along with a glass of wine, and relax at the beautiful site. The great part about Waltz Vineyards and a lot of places that grow their own vines are not only are you enjoying great wine, but you have the beautiful ambiance that goes along with it.
Yep, the umbrellas are up, the picnic tables are out, so we're ready to go.
Perfect. They're ready to go. So as long as we get out of this little funk of weather, and even so, it's still a pretty day to hang out, even if it's hasn't quite warmed up yet. So make sure you stop by, go to waltzvineyards.com, check out their hours and their locations, and then definitely plan a trip to go visit Jan at the winery. So thanks so much for joining us today, Jan.
All right. Thank you for having me, Missy.
Yep, no problem. So, after stopping by Waltz Vineyards, you can head south to Lancaster if you want. So, if you go to the Lancaster area, obviously a lot of people know you can go back in time and enjoy that Amish lifestyle. They have amazing Pennsylvania Dutch food in the area. The Amish handmade crafts, furniture, all the art, and you can immerse yourself in their everyday lifestyle. In addition, Lancaster has amazing restaurants with farm to table meals, historic museums, art, outdoor adventures, and even more. So if you decide not to head over to Lancaster, you can head northwest instead, the same amount of time, and hit up Hershey. Allison from Visit Hershey Harrisburg has several suggestions of enjoying a day in the area, making it into an overnight trip, or extending your trip even longer than just one overnight. So we're excited to have on with us today, Allison. How are you today, Allison?
I'm good. Thanks for having me. How are you?
Great. So we're excited to have you on because you have a lot of information about not only the wineries in the area, but a lot of other things to do. So we know that Waltz is located just right outside of Hershey by about 25 minutes or so. But the Hershey area also has quite a few wineries that you can include on your wine tour as well. So what are some of the suggestions that you have for people for places to go?
Sure. Starting with the Hershey Harrisburg region, just a great selection of wineries that are in close proximity, making it really convenient to visit a few in one day, or you can make a weekend out of the winery adventure, certainly. Some of our recommendations include the vineyard at Hershey. Maybe you visited Waltz coming 283 out of the Lancaster area and kind of hook up with them there. Springgate Winery, Castle Vineyard, Armstrong Valley Winery, Buddy Boy Winery, J&P Winery, the winery at Hunters Valley. Again, all great options, not just for great wines, but as you talked a little bit to Jan about as well, great views. And especially now as we head into spring and summer, you've got your outdoor options with all of those places as well, so that you can kind of find that spot to find your new favorite white, red blend. And again, what we love about the winery experience and how it's grown so much over the years is that you really can fill the itinerary for the day or the weekend. Again, when you've got these nice days coming up, you've got music sets, you've got sprawling lawns and courtyards, you're stretching out, you're enjoying, craft wine, good company, whoever it is that you've come with for the day. But, when you're looking to kind of see what else is out there when you visit a region, especially if you're not from here, but you're coming to enjoy these new PA wines that are just, fantastic to taste, and you want to see, okay, well, what else is there in the region? And obviously, at Visit Hershey and Harrisburg, we do our best to come up with those ideas and make sure that the people really know about all of the other things that there are to do in the area. So one of the first things that we really wanted to start with today, kind of going on that theme with what wine pairs great with food, right? So wineries, they do an incredible job. They bring in caterers, they bring in food trucks. There's always something on site that you can get food, and a lot of times it's a taste of something local. They do a fantastic job, with those kinds of pairings and things. But let's say you're looking for other meal options, and outside of the winery experience, you want to sit down for a full meal. Certainly in the Hershey and Harrisburg region, both just a wide variety of all sorts of different kinds of things. And two that we wanted to touch on today, to sit down for fine dining, something at 1700 Degree Steakhouse in downtown Harrisburg, situated in the Hilton, right in the downtown area. So that's really a great option. And then a new dining experience at Hershey Park. The Chocolatier is a new restaurant at Hershey Park, and it's part of Chocolate Town. So many great things about it. Number one, it's open year round. So the park goes seasonally. So there are some days and some seasons where the park might not be open. But the Chocolatier is something that's available to guests all year round. And the menu with that is really something you kind of have to see to believe in ways. The way that the chefs pull together those chocolate themes, and also, you've got peanut butter worked into burgers and things like that. It's a really neat experience. The way they play with flavors and the way that they blend their traditions of Hershey with great food is really something cool. So when you're talking about food and meals outside of a winery experience, our website has a lot of great suggestions for where you might be able to do that.
Well, that's great. That actually is because wine and food go together so well.
Mhm.
So, what if you're taking that girls' trip? So, you're pulling
Yeah,
together a bunch of girls and you want to do the wineries, but you want to do something after the wineries close. What are some good options for you?
sure. Well, again, wineries, fantastic locations for girls' getaways, and then girls' getaways pairing really well with spa treatments. The Chocolate Spa at Hotel Hershey, it's just a place that's offering kind of that ultimate indulgence with some chocolate themed treatments, but then they've got traditional treatments as well. So you have this kind of glorious ambiance with everything where you can just sit and relax. It's a place where you can disconnect, but then when you talk about girls' getaways, maybe it's girlfriends from college, maybe it's mom, maybe it's, different generations that are getting back together. You're reconnecting with girlfriends as well. And Hershey at the spa is a great place to do that. And of course, some of the other locations throughout Hershey with the gardens, just beautiful settings at Hershey Gardens. This time of year, the tulips are in full bloom. We have Mother's Day coming up, so reservations for some of these things coming up with Mother's Day might be a little tough right now, but we celebrate friendships and we celebrate mom year round. So something to keep in the back of your mind for any time of the year.
So, what if you're either hanging with the guys or if you have you're bringing your significant other along with you? What are some good options for them if they want to take a little bit of a break from the wine aspect?
Sure. Well, with the disclaimer here is that we know that both men and women like craft beer, right? So it's not just a guy thing. But for argument's sake, with what we're talking about today, let's say the ladies are leaning toward wine. The guys have a lot of options for craft beer in the Hershey Harrisburg region. And what's really cool about that is that a lot of times it's at the same location. Springgate Winery, the Vineyard and Brewery at Hershey are two really great examples of places where you have these joint winery and brewery experiences, and they're offering tons of unique flavors. And they've got room inside and outside for entertainment, events, music, different activities and things like that. Castle Vineyards, they're offering an award-winning lineup of craft wine, but they're also a really great destination for craft ciders. So, our local wineries, they're thriving. And then on the craft beer side as well, that scene is just continuing to grow. So we have something called the Brew Barons Beer Trail, and it's a mobile passport. So it's all on your phone. And there are these tiered levels of check-ins with different prizes. And we've got, at this point, more than 25 local places, either the brewery itself or a tasting location that's kind of a satellite where you can go and taste these great beers. And again, sometimes wine on site too. And that's all within about 20 miles of Harrisburg or Hershey. So again, it's that kind of concentrated feel where you have the ability to sample, some flavors and kind of that local feel and ambiance at a few different spots without really having to drive very far in between and get some really unique experiences out of that.
So, we know that there's the Hershey Harrisburg Wine Country Wine Trail to enjoy, but
Mhm.
you have another trail that you definitely suggest people should take part in.
We do. We know that wine pairs well with chocolate. Hershey is, of course, the name and the taste that's really recognizable worldwide. And wineries in our area, they often have events. They'll feature chocolate themed pairings, but it's not always just Hershey's chocolate. When you live in a town or when you grow up in a town that was literally built by the most famous name in chocolate, that love for sweets, that love for making sweets is bound to kind of play its way into the local psyche of families and business owners here. So, we have a variety of businesses that are specializing in artisan chocolates, in bakeries that are inspired by recipes that have been handed down over generations. We've got candy shops that thrive on kind of that throwback corner store atmosphere, and ice cream. There's always room for ice cream. So the Hershey Harrisburg Chocolate and More Sweet Treat Trail. This is a mobile pass as well, and it's featuring all of these different sweets destinations, and you can check in on a mobile pass there after you've made a purchase, and then you can accumulate these check-ins as you go through and sample some of these sweets and treats that are around with things. So you can work this into your winery trip in a couple of different ways. So maybe you're coming into a winery on Sunday. Well, if you're here on Saturday, pull up the Sweet Treat Trail on your phone, check out some of those locations while you're there, pick up something sweet that the next day you can pair with what you're doing at the winery, or vice versa. You're coming in on Saturday, you're visiting wineries Saturday, Sunday, you're visiting some Sweet Treat Trails. You know that you've picked up a few bottles at the winery to take home and enjoy with friends and family. So pick up some sweet treats there and kind of pair them and see how it works when you're back at your own house or hosting an event down the road. So again, that chocolate and more Sweet Treat Trail is something that we really love as well.
Yeah, well, and that's something you can do if you decide to make it into a family trip. So obviously, we know if you're going to do a family trip and you're going to do it in the summer, you have things like Hershey Park. But what are some other great places that people can stop by and include in their itinerary if the kids are coming along as well?
Sure. Well, Hershey Park is right next to Chocolate World. Hershey's Chocolate World is a huge retail space for all things Hershey, but it's also packed with activities. You can make your own candy bar. There's a ride that's a free simulated chocolate tour ride, and of course a free treat at the end that everybody loves. Lake Tobias Wildlife Park is one of our favorites for families as well. It's acres and acres of unique animals that roam about, and you interact with these animals on a safari tour. There are open air buses that take visitors through the park. You've got, elk, deer, zebras, longhorns, some other names that sometimes I don't pronounce correctly, but they're fantastic to see in person. And then there are exhibits too, for lions, tigers, bears, and giraffes. You can feed giraffes. There's a petting zoo. So it's just a great spot for interactions. It's not just about looking, it's about learning and all of that sort of thing. And just a majestic setting that's just a few minutes and miles away from Harrisburg. So you don't think that it's there, but it's great.
So if people want to do some outdoor time, now that it's getting nice out, do you have some suggestions with regards to that?
Absolutely. We say you can wind down one way and then you hit the trails for hiking or biking, and you can pull out the kayaks for a float at another time. So, we know that when people think of Hershey and Harrisburg, the outdoors really might not be the first thing that comes to mind, but it's here. And it's here with beautiful scenery and just a variety of history. Part of the famed Appalachian Trail runs through the region. There's a scenic overlook at Hawk Rock that's just stunning in Duncannon. The capital area Greenbelt is a 22-mile pathway, kind of a loop that goes around Harrisburg for walking and biking around the city. Riverfront Park along the Susquehanna River. It's got monuments and gardens, and you have color and you have quiet and you have the river, and all of those things kind of come together for a great outdoor adventure experience.
Wonderful. So the key is when you're planning your trip into this area and into the Hershey, Harrisburg, South Central PA area, you want to make sure that you check out your local visitors bureau. And in this case, you're going to want to, what is the best website to go to get this information and for everybody to start planning their own trip?
Sure. It's visit hersheyharrisburg.org. And of course, we've got listings for all of these different places and ideas and things to do, but it's also broken down into the trails, and then we've got some profiles. Our team is always out there trying to talk with our local businesses to try and get those stories so that we can relay those to you through these avenues on the website, so that you can kind of get, again, the flavor of where it is that you're coming before you head out.
Perfect. Well, thanks so much for all this information, Allison. And everybody, make sure when you start to plan your trip, go to visit hersheyharrisburg.org, and you can start to add in some additional places in addition to the wine tasting that you have planned. So thanks, Allison.
Thank you.
So the South Central region of the state has amazing vineyard and winery options, as we had just seen. So whether you're headed to the Hershey area, if you're headed to Gettysburg, Lancaster, York, or even further north towards Lewistown, you can actually create your own road trip. Visit your local visitors bureaus and the Pennsylvania Winery Association's website, pennsylvaniawine.com. They're great resources to use when planning your trips. And as always, whether you enjoy a sweet wine, a dry wine, or something on the in-between, there's always a Pennsylvania wine made for you. Join us in 2 weeks as we talk Chardonnay, and we're super excited to be tasting a variety of Pennsylvania Chardonnays during the program, and this will help you figure out which ones you might want to go, which wineries you might want to go to, and what type of Chardonnay you might fall in love with. We stream our new shows live on the second and fourth Tuesdays of every month, starting at noon on both Facebook and YouTube. But if you can't join us live, you can always watch the program whenever is most convenient for you. Plus, you can also listen to Uncork PA on Apple, Spotify, or your favorite place to stream your podcast. Don't forget to subscribe to the station so you know when new episodes are posted. And we want to thank the Pennsylvania Winery Association for supporting this program with grant money from the PLCB, and we look forward to sharing more hidden gems from the Pennsylvania wine world with you next time. Have a great day.